We'll start off by saying
The recording has started.
shalom and all praises to the Most High, higher. Say Shabbat Shalom. How everybody doing today on the Sabbath? Today's lesson, we're going to go into last week's lesson. We went into the seals. So now this week, during the seals, we talked about the four beasts that was up at the throne with the Most High, along with the four elders. And it kept referring to the four beasts every time something happened. All right. Also, we broke down that Revelations 7:1. Those four angels represents the four beasts. All right, correct? Y'all remember that? So now today, we're going to go into more of a description on these four. All right, we're going to break them down on who they are and what they're about. So first of all, we'll start it off with any news. Like always, anybody have anything they would like to share with the group? Any information?
No, I'm good, brother.
You good? All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, that's good then, because I wanted to get really into the precepts right away. For you guys that missed the conversation on Halloween on Wednesday, I'll briefly go over that information for about 3 minutes, just so you can have a breakdown, since today is Samhain. That's what Halloween is called in the code name Samhain, Samuin, and it represents the Day of the Dead. But Samhain was from October 29th to October 31st. So between those 3 days was the day of they did their festival unto Samhain. And the Druids were the priests that did this festival. These are the ones that started these rituals. They were called Druids, Duids. And the Druids, these priests, on Samhain, on the 29th, they would go to the Stonehenge. The Stonehenge is these stones of rocks in Britain. And this is, you go up there and they do all kind of sacrifices and worship. There's many different Stonehenges. There's not just one, and at each one there's over 4,000 skeleton bones underneath those rocks because of all the rituals of human sacrifices and things that they did. But the Druids would meet there on the 29th, and they would light this big old pot with steaming hot apple cider like substance, and then they would leave and go into the country. And when they went into the country, they went house to house, castle to castle, mansion to mansion, knocking on doors. And when they knocked on the door, they said trick or treat. These Druids, these high priests. And the person, the head of the house, the man of the house, would either, they said trick or treat, he would either grab someone from his house, a servant or a daughter, a son, and give them up to the Druids as a human sacrifice. This is your treat. So if you did, this is your treat part. So the person of the house would give up the sacrifice from the house, son or daughter or servant. And with the cooperation of doing such, the Druids would grab a pumpkin already carved out with human fat in the pumpkin, and they would put that on your doorstep and light it. And that way, that night when they release the spirits of the demons, your house would be protected because you cooperated with the Druids. But if you was that person that said, no, I'm not giving up a human sacrifice, now this is where the trick comes in at. Then the Druids was walking throughout the country, house to house, with a dead body. And they would take blood from that dead body to the person that didn't cooperate and put it on, and they would paint the 6-pointed star with the circle around it on the house. And then 5 hours later, 6 hours later, the Druids would go back to the Stonehenge, and they would build what was called a wicker man. A wicker man is with wicker, like straws. Straws is like wicker reed. And they would build a wicker man that was like 25 to 30 feet tall. And throughout that wicker man, it would be three levels high. And throughout that wicker man, they would have cages and cages. And that's where they would put the prisoners that they had got for the human sacrifice. And then they would grab 12 of the prisoners, 12 at a time, and put them in line. And they would take them to that black pot that they had lit before they went out to do the trick-or-treating. And now this pot is bubbling, steaming hot with this apple cider-like substance. And the Druids would take 12 prisoners at a time and throw an apple in the black pot and tell the prisoner, if you can get that apple out in one try with your teeth, I'll let you go. All right, and that's what the challenge was, and that's where your apple bobbing comes from. And so say if you did get the apple out in one try, your whole face is burned off. You're hideous. Nobody knows who you are from here on out. So it was a catch-22. But if you didn't get the apple out, or if you refused to do such, they would just chop your head off and put you in the fire and burn you as a human sacrifice. All right, and the reason why the Druids did these human sacrifice, because on this day from the 29th to the 31st, because they were trying to release the spirits of the dead. Remember, Halloween, which is Samhain, is the Day of the Dead, and they're trying to bring the crossroad between the souls of the dead into the world of the living on this 3-day period. That's what their rituals are about. And when the Druids realized, hey, we're releasing these souls into the world and giving them a chance to come back and visit family members and do different things, they knew some of those souls were going to get out of control. So then that's when the Druids say, hey, you know what? We have to paint our faces and put ugly costumes on, ugly mask on, and then decorate our robes, which made costume to where they can control the spirits. So this is where your costumes come in at, is to control these demon spirits that they have released from the 29th to the 31st. So anybody that's out there with a costume on, that's all they're doing. They're just telling that spirit, come chill with me for this day. Let me reside with you and do what I have to do. Because that's why they came out with it. So you guys, overall, today Halloween, you got a lot of people out there right now celebrating this holiday, and they don't have a reasoning why they're celebrating it. They don't have a reasoning of the human sacrifices that's been made. This is still going on today. You can look it up. This ain't just something that was back in the day. This is still going on worldwide every October 29th to 31st. All right? And then November 1st, the day after Halloween, is called All Saints Day, because the Druids are now getting praised for what they did. All right, so let's go into the lesson. So let's talk about these four. We're going to skim through it real quick. Let's go to Revelation 7. Everybody already know it, but let's catch everybody up that don't know. Let's go to Revelation 7. Go ahead.
We're in the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verse 1. And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Most High. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our power in their foreheads.
So Verse 1 says, I had 4 angels standing on the 4 corners, standing on the whole earth. All right. So these 4 angels, let's go to Revelation 5. Okay. Start in verse. Just go on ahead and go on.
In Revelation chapter 5 verse 1, and I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof. And no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, had prevailed to open the book and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts.
So the 4 beasts right here is the same as the 4 angels in Revelation 7 and 1. All right, these 4 are always close to the throne. They are actually the closest to the throne than anybody else. These 4. Okay, so you have the throne, which sits higher, and then these 4 beasts, these 4 angels in Revelation 7 and 1. That's why when something is always getting ready to happen, some type of destruction, he's sending out these 4 to do such. Okay, and anytime something happens, he's sending these 4 out. These 4 are like his protection. All right, these 4 beasts, just like the protection of Ahia, they're always in the midst of him before anybody else. Okay, so now we know who they are. Let's go to Ezekiel 1 and 1. Because when you say the word 4 beasts, a lot of people get it mixed up with Daniel 7, the 4 beasts of the kingdoms. But these 4 beasts are the 4 beasts of the Most High, Ahia. These are the 4 beasts of Ahia. That's the difference. So somebody said, well, what's the difference between the 4 beasts? 4 beasts in Daniel is representing the kingdoms. Okay, and these 4 beasts right here are speaking of the 4 beasts of Ahia. All right, go ahead.
We in the book of Ezekiel. We in chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Chebar, that the heavens were open, and I saw visions of the Most High.
So Ezekiel said the heavens were open. So he's going to explain through this chapter what he's seen and how it happened. So he says the heavens were open. Okay, we're going to stress this so you can understand what's happening through his explanation on what we're about to read. He's letting you know what he's seeing coming from heaven. And he saw the visions of Ahia. Verse 2.
Verse 2. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoshaphat captivity, the word of the Most High came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest.
So once the heavens were open, the words of the Most High came expressly to Ezekiel. This is what he means when he say I saw the vision of Ahia in verse 1. All right, go ahead.
And we in the middle of verse 3. The son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river Chabal, and the hand of the Most High was there upon him.
The word Ezekiel means the strength of the Most High. All right, that's what the word Ezekiel means. It means the strength of Ahia. Okay, verse 4.
We in Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 4. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire.
So it's explaining that there's like a dark storm of cloud that approaches Ezekiel, and through that cloud is like a blaze of lightning round about the cloud. So it's like a dark cloud is coming out of the sky, and round about the cloud it's got like lightning. That's what that just kind of explained. And in the midst thereof of the cloud is the color of amber. Okay? Break down the word amber.
We have amber, and it is Hebrews 28:30. H28:30. Amber. And we have
Sorry.
Cashmel. Cashmel. It is spelled CHASHMAL. Cashmel. CHASHMAL. Amber, and it is probably bronze.
Bronze. Alright. So in Ezekiel 1 and 4 it says, just read it again. Read Ezekiel 1 and 4.
When Ezekiel 1 and 4, and I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire.
Go ahead.
Verse 5. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and was their appearance, they had the likeness of a man.
So here go your guys again. Okay. And now through Ezekiel it explains how they look. Alright, because you hear about them a lot in Revelations. You hear about these guys a lot doing a lot of stuff. So now let's break down who they are and what they look like. Okay? And they all have the appearance of the likeness of a man. Okay? But let's look at the keys here. So Ezekiel 1 and 4, when it's talking about the color amber, look at it. It says, and out of the midst thereof as the color of amber. Now let's look in verse 5. In verse 5 say, also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 creatures. So these 4 creatures that was coming out of the clouds had the color of amber, which is bronze. They were bronze color, these 4 creatures. That's what it's explaining. Verse 6.
We in Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 6. And everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings.
So they all had 4 faces, one looking each way. So each face looking this way, which is north, one face looking this way, which is east, and one face looking this way, which is south and west. So that you got all the faces looking a certain way. Okay? And remember, all 4 of them are the color of bronze. What's the color of bronze? A penny, right? That's the best way you can put it. A penny. A penny is bronze. Nothing else. Okay? And they all have 4 faces. Go ahead.
We in Ezekiel 1:7. And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass.
So the feet was brass too, and now the feet are burnished brass. Maybe a little darker than the appearance. It's a little darker than the penny now. All right, let's break down calves. So now it says the feet is burnished brass. It's almost somebody say, well, what's burnished brass? Like I say, it's take a penny and light it. All right, without burning your finger. See how long you can light that penny, and that's what burnished brass is. Go ahead.
We have calf, and it is Agar.
If you give them the number.
Oh, excuse me. It is Hebrews 56:95. H 56:95. We have Agar, and it is Egel, Agel, Egel, and it is a steer.
Okay, so it's steer. So the soles of their feet look like a steer, almost like a bull, like something with something real nice and little to where they can move really, really fast. And it's kind of funny because anytime you see a movie of these they showing different angels and stuff, you look at their feet, so that's what it look like. So they kind of know. They put it in front of you. You just don't know, but it's explaining kind of what their feet look like. All right. So the soles of their feet were like a calf's foot. All right, which divided the hoof. So therefore they're clean. You remember the lesson we did, Leviticus 11? All right. If the calf's foot divided the hoof, then he was clean, right? So that's why they had the foot of a calf, because it divided the hoof, so it made these guys clean. All right. Break down the word brass. So the Most High, he's perfect in everything he do. When he spoke to us in Leviticus 11, he said, any animal you eat of, his foot, the hoof has to be divided. Okay, and that's what the steer has. That's what the calf's foot looks like. Break down brass.
We have brass, and it is Hebrews 51:78. H 51:78. We're looking at Nekosheth. And it is spelled Nechosheth. Nekosheth. Nechosheth. And it is copper. Hence, something made that metal. That is a coin.
So it tells you that brass is copper and it's a coin. So it's telling you it's a penny. It just told you right there. And the reason why we broke that down is because you have so many people who would argue with you and tell you, well, brass and copper are different. I didn't heard it before. It's just ridiculous because people just like to bring in strifeful conversations. But I didn't heard you put brass and copper are different. One is dark and one is all right. So but it just broke down what brass is. It said copper, and it gave you a coin to explain in your vision it's a penny. Go ahead.
We in verse 9.
Verse 8.
Verse 8. And it reads, and they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings.
All right, so each living creature appears to have had 4 hands or 4 arms under their wings. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 9. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went. They went every way. They went everyone straight.
forward.
Straightforward. Excuse me.
So it says they went straight forward. So it's telling you that everyone did his own work. They wasn't worried about what the next one was doing. They all was on their own mission. They all went straight forward, worrying about his own duty. All right. They did not bother the other one, playing games. Hey man, getting the other, distracting the other one. No, they went straight forward, doing their own deal. All right, and did not stand in the other one's way. Okay, because if you got four of them in the same area and they all go in different directions, now they got to hold up and wait for each other. All right, let them go first. Let them finish. And then you got to know they all went their own way. That way, they never got in each other's way. They never bothered the other one's work. They did their work. Let's go to Revelations 4:1. So what we just read is we have 4 beasts who was the color of amber. All right, and they all had 4 faces with feet that looks like calves' feet. All right, and they all had 4 arms, 4 hands. Revelations 4:1.
We in the book of Revelations. We in chapter 4, verse 1. And it reads, after this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven.
So the same door of heaven that was open when we was reading in the beginning of Ezekiel, when it says, and I saw heaven open. Okay, so every time it explains these guys, heaven is open. Okay, it's not saying, oh, well, here comes these guys. Well, no, it's letting you know they're coming from the throne where our highest is. Go ahead.
In the middle of verse 1, it says, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, come up hither, and I will shew thee things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto emerald. Excuse me, we are in verse 4. Revelation chapter 4, verse 4. And it reads, and round about the throne were 24 seats. And upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment. And they had on their heads crowns of gold.
Just explaining the 24 elders that we spoke about last week. All right, go ahead.
Verse 5, and out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of the Most High. And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal. And in the midst of the throne and round about the throne were 4 beasts, full of eyes before and behind.
So they full of eyes before and behind. They got the Most High's back. They watching everything. Okay? Go ahead.
And the first beast was like a lion, and a second beast like a calf. And the third beast had a face as a man. And the fourth beast was like a flying eagle.
So we'll break this down when we go back to Ezekiel on these four. These are the four faces. All right. It's not telling you one, the four beasts. One is a lion. One no. It's telling you that these are the four faces of the beast. All right. So let's not get that confused when it says in the first was like a lion, the second a calf. It's not telling you, well, this one beast looks like a lion, and this one no. You remember all four of the beasts have four faces. So right here is explaining one face is a lion, one face is this, one face is a man, and one face is an eagle. Okay. Hold on, let's go. All right, read verse 8.
We in Revelations chapter 4 verse 8. And the four beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within, and they rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Ahia Almighty, which was and is to come. And when those beasts give glory and honor and thanks to him that sat on the throne, who liveth forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him that sat on the throne, and worship him that liveth forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, Thou art worthy, O Most High, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created.
All right, let's go back to Ezekiel 1 and 10. So they're all sitting up there just praising and giving thanks to the Most High. All right, those beasts, it says in verse 9, those beasts give glory and honor and thanks to him that's out on the throne, who liveth forever and ever. Okay, so that's all those beasts are doing. They give all praises to the Most all day long. All right, Ezekiel 1 and 10.
We in the book of Ezekiel. We're in chapter 1, verse 10. As for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the faces of a man.
So all 4 of them had at least one face of a man. Go ahead.
And the face of a lion.
And a face of a lion.
On the right side, and they 4 had face of an ox on the left side.
So it says, so a face of a lion on the right side. So on the right side, so the face that's on the right side is a lion. And then the face on the left side is an ox. Go ahead.
They 4 also had the face of an eagle.
So the face of an eagle. So the face of an eagle must means that it's behind him. That's what's in back of him. Okay? And so the face of the front, which is the man, that's why it starts off with the face of the man. Verse 10 says, as for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man. So this is the first face that you see when they greet you, is the face of a man. All right, and then the lion on the right side, ox on the left, and then the back, which is the eagle. Okay? And remember, they go straight forward. So when they walk, they don't turn to go one way, they go straight forward. All right, because they got other ones up there with them, so these faces are looking each way. All right, verse 12. No, verse 11.
We in Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 11. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of everyone that were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies.
So each creature stretched out one pair of wings. So just imagine above, all of them having each of them stretching out one pair of their wings. All right, while the other pair covered this body. So they got two sets of wings. So the other pair is covering the body, and then one set is stretched out. And then at the tips, while they're expanded, it's touching one of the other beasts. So they're all somewhat connected in a circle. This is what is somewhat explaining that when their wings are out, then the tips are touching the other one to keep the spirit of one realm with all in another one. So that's why they can't go opposite ways. That's why they just got to go one way to keep the flow going one way. All right, read it again. Verse 11.
We in Ezekiel 1 and 11. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward, and two wings of everyone were joined one to another, and two covered their bodies.
All right, verse 12.
Ezekiel 1 and 12. And they went everyone straight forward. Whither the Spirit was to go, they went. And they turned not when they went.
So the spirit is what's directing this group of beasts. This is like their heartbeat. So that's why it says, whether the spirit was to go, they went. They followed the spirit. They wasn't just out there playing around and doing whatever. They was doing a mission. All right. And the spirit did not belong to the individual living creature itself, but to the whole group. So the one spirit that was up there was controlling all four of them under one spirit. That's why they was all on one mission. It ain't like one beast had the spirit of this, the other beast had the spirit of this. No, they all was controlled by the one spirit. That's why it says, whether the spirit was to go, they went. They all followed that same spirit. All right, and they turned not when they went. Verse 13.
We in Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 13. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning.
So they were very fast. So that's where you get your movie Flash from. Fastest dude on earth. But it says right here, these creatures, they were very fast too, like lightning. All right, when they ran, it was like lightning. All right, verse 15. That's why they had the feet of a calf, a soul, so they can move really quick. All right, but they had the appearance of a man, so they were very fast. Go ahead. Verse 15.
Verse 15. Now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with his four faces.
So one wheel means besides each creature. Each creature had one wheel beside him. All right, verse 16.
Verse 16. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, and they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel.
So it says the wheels touched the ground and were all alike. So that everything that one had, they all were the same. All right, like you have four twins, and then it says, and the wheel within the wheel. That's why it's saying it's almost like you had two wheels. It looked like it had two wheels. So that's what it means when it said a wheel within a wheel. All right, a wheel in the middle of the wheel. Each four looked like they had two wheels when they only had one wheel because of the extra wheel in the middle. Verse 17.
Ezekiel 1 and chapter 1 verse 17. When they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went.
So once again, it's letting you know when they went, the four sides stayed the same. They didn't turn. All right. So the face of the man was always the one that greeted or did the beginning part of it, and the other ones was on the one side. Okay. Go ahead.
We in verse 18. As for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them four.
All right, so let's see. This is where their eyes come down. Break down the word rings.
We touching rings, that it is Hebrews 13:54. We got H 13:54. And it is Gab, Gab, G-A-B, G-A-B, and it is, by analogy, the top or rim, a boss, a vault, arc of eye.
So a rim, rings is the rim that's on these wheels we're talking about. Okay, and on these wheels it's full of eyes round about them four. So it's surrounded by eyes on these rims, on these wheels. Okay, so let's stop for a second, and let's take a vision of these four angels that's so important in Revelation. These are the four that come, and they the ones that's gonna come destroy the earth when it's time. He says that, you remember these four in Revelation 7:1 are the ones that's holding the wind not to destroy the earth nor the sea until the service of the Most High is sealed. So these four are very important. All right, they're like the Most High's, outside of Christ, the Most High's right hand man, outside of the three that bear record in heaven. Okay, and these guys, they have four faces, and each face is a different appearance, but they all go one way, and they all are on the one spirit. Now, it's explaining in the vision that all of them have their wings stretched out to where they're all connected, so they must be in the circle then, right? In order for them all four to be connected, they have to be going along around in some type of circle in order to have each tip connected. So we have to see the vision on what's happening. So if these, and remember, the vision that they're bringing is what? Can somebody tell me? Ezekiel 1 and 1. Read it again. Read Ezekiel 1 and 1.
When Ezekiel 1 and 1, it says, "Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river of Chebar, that the heavens were open, and I saw visions of a height."
So in order for Ezekiel to see this vision, these angels are coming to bring the vision, and what they're showing is they got a circle connected around them to bring the vision through this circle for Ezekiel. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. All right, so sooner or later we're going to get to what's coming through that circle. All right, Ezekiel 1 and 19.
When Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 19, "And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the Spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels."
So the spirit that was controlling the four was coming from the wheels. That's what that just said. So the spirit that they all was following, whither they went. Remember it says, no matter where they went, the spirit went. They followed after the spirit, and that spirit was coming from these wheels. All right, verse 21.
Ezekiel 1 and 21. When those went, these went. And when those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. And the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the...
Hold on for a second. Let's see something when it keeps saying. So it keeps talking about how the wheels are going to and fro from the earth up and down, and it is kind of explaining different things, but it's kind of explaining different destructions that these angels are pulling off. Okay, let's go to Revelations 9 and 14. Revelations 9 and 14. We're just going to talk about a few things, how it's explaining how their wheels are going from the earth and was lifted up, different things that these guys were doing. You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
We in the book of Revelation, chapter 9, verse 14. Saying to the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates.
Okay, so right here it's saying, loose those four. So when it's time to do something for the Most High, so when now the Most High says, I have wrath, it's time for y'all to feel my wrath, he sends these four to do the wrath. Okay? Let's go to Ezekiel 7 and 2. Go ahead.
We're in Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 2. Also, thou son of man, thus saith the Most High unto the land of Israel, and then the end is come upon the four corners of the land.
So the four corners of the land, who's on the four corners of the land? These four angels. And Revelation 7 and 1 says, these four angels are standing on the four corners. So an end is come upon the four corners of the land. How's the end going to come? By these four angels bringing the end. They the ones that's bringing it. Okay? So like I said, anytime the Most High says, hey, it's time, let's go to Zechariah 6 and 1. We went to this one last week. Zechariah 6 and 1. So anytime the Most High say, hey, it's time to bring it in, I need these guys to start the party off. Okay? These are the greeters. Alright? Go ahead. Zechariah 6 and 1.
When Zechariah chapter 6 verse 1, and I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came four chariots out from between two mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass.
Okay, so remember, these four chariots is speaking of them. This is talking about the seals. Right before the seals would pop, these four chariots, all right, which are these four angels we're speaking of in Ezekiel, are the ones that came to bring in those horses. All right, to bring in those four horses in the beginning part of those seals. Okay, last one. Let's go to Mark 13 and 27. Go ahead.
We're in the book of Mark, chapter 13, verse 27. And then shall he send his angels, and shall gather together his elect from the four winds.
So they known as the four winds. Four angels, four winds, four beasts, whatever. Go ahead.
From the uttermost parts of the earth to the uttermost parts of heaven.
So anytime the Most High has something to do, he sends these guys. So that's what Christ is saying right here. He says, and then shall he send his angels. Alright? And he shall gather together his elect from the four winds. So these four are his elect. These are his chosen ones. He said, these my gods. I handpicked them. Okay? They special to me. Let's go back to Ezekiel. Where did we leave off? 1 and 21. Yeah, let's just go. Let's just start back at 1 and 21.
We in Ezekiel.
What was the last verse?
The last precept was in Mark 13 to 27. All right, go ahead.
Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 21. When those went, these went. When those stood, these stood.
So when one went, the other one went. Because you couldn't have one going and then one still standing. Remember, it's a circle. They all following each other. So if one stopped and the other three are still going, it causes it's an accident. So when one went, the other one went. When one stopped, the other one stopped. When one stood, the other one stood. Read it again.
We gonna start in the beginning of verse 21.
Remember though, the vision that we're seeing here is them going around in the circle, opening the heaven to bring the vision to Ezekiel. They're not doing nothing else but that right now. All right, go ahead.
It says, when those went, these went. When those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. And the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was the color of the terrible crystal, stretched forth over their heads above.
So it says, and the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was as a color of a terrible crystal. Let's find out what the terrible crystal is. Break down terrible.
Terrible, and it is Hebrews 33:72. Terrible is H 33:72, and we got Yahweh. Yahweh. It is spelled Y-A-R-E. Y-A-R-E, Yahweh. And it is to fear, to frighten.
Alright. So terrible is to fear, to frighten. Alright, break down crystal.
We have crystal. It is Hebrews 71:40. H 71:40. We have ice. As if bald, that is smooth. Hence hell.
So crystal is ice or hell. Alright. So terrible is to frighten. So speaking of frightened, they're frightened because hell is coming down. Read it again. Verse 22.
Verse 22 in the book of Ezekiel chapter 1, it says, and the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature.
So above the living creatures that was going around and around in a circle, following each other, opening this vision for Ezekiel, it's a hole in the middle of them. All right, and then there was a color of a. Go ahead, read it.
We in the middle of verse 22. It says, was as the color of the terrible crystal, stretched forth over their heads above.
So over their heads above was the terrible crystal, which is frightened in hell. So frightened in hell. Hell was rough. It was. You remember, you got it. In the beginning, it says these four were coming from a dark cloud. And out of this dark cloud was surrounded round about the dark cloud lightning. So now above them is hell. All right, frightening hell coming down. Verse 23.
When verse 23 it says, and under the firmament were their wings straight, the one toward the other.
So now it's explaining. So under the firmament, under this hill, their wings are straight, like I was saying, and they're touching one another. Go ahead.
We in the middle of verse 23. Everyone had two which covered on this side, and everyone had two which covered on that side, their bodies.
So one towards another, still connected at the tips of the wings that we spoken of earlier. Go ahead.
Verse 24, and when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech, as the noise of an host. When they stood, they let down their wings.
Now we get into the meat and potatoes. Now Ahia's coming. The Almighty. Who's the voice of the Almighty? So now that they've gone, now it says they're standing up because the voice of the Most High is now coming. All right. But it says, and I heard the noise of their wings. So their wings were so loud, like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech, as the noise of an host. Break it down.
We have of an host. Of an host, and it is Hebrews 42:64. We have H64, 42:64. And it is Mackinac, and it is spelled MACHANEH. Mackinac, MACHANEH. And it is an encampment of travelers or troops, hence an army.
So the speech of the Most High, the Almighty, sounded like a troop of an army coming. It was loud. Boom, boom, boom. The voice was fearful. It was loud. Okay? So when Ahia spoke, this is what it sounded like. It sounded like travelers or troops. Verse 25. Remember, verse 24 says, as the voice of the Almighty. So it's letting you know that it's speaking of Ahia coming right here, because a lot of people will start arguing with you once you get further down into this verse that it's not speaking of him. Okay? Verse 25.
Verse 25. And there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads when they stood and had let down their wings.
So now that Ahia is here, they're standing. They're no longer wing to wing, going around in a circle. They're now standing, giving him the honor for him to come down and do what he needs to do. Verse 26.
Ezekiel 1:26, it says, and above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness of the appearance of a man above upon it.
So it says, so now, once they're standing, they're no longer going in a circle, they're standing. There was the appearance of a throne. So now they can see the throne. The vision is coming down. Remember, they're bringing the vision down to Ezekiel, the vision of Ahia. So they're bringing Ahia down through what they were doing. This is what these four were doing. This, the whole purpose of them was to bring Ahia down to the vision of Ahia down to Ezekiel. So now Ezekiel says, so now that they're standing, I see a throne. And on the throne I see the appearance of a man upon the throne. This is what he says, verse 27.
Verse 27. And I saw the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within it.
So it says, and on this throne I saw the color of amber again. So there goes that amber again. So the man that sat upon this throne, the appearance of this man was the color of amber. That's what that just says. The end of verse 26 says, there was a likeness of an appearance on the man above upon it, and I saw as the color of amber. So it's telling you that the man that was on the throne was the color of amber, and then around his throne, the appearance, the fire around about it, around his throne. Finish it.
We in the middle of verse 27, it says, from the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loin even downward, I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about.
So it says the color of amber is coming with a higher also, and from the appearance of his loins upward, and from the appearance of his loins downward. So the whole body was amber, not just part of it. And you know, when it speaks of Christ in Revelations 1 and 13, and it talks about him being dark, it's only talking about his feet. Okay? But right here is explaining Ahia, the Almighty, as amber, even from his loins upward, so from the middle of his stomach all the way up, and then even from his loins down, so the bottom half of his body is amber. That way people don't get it confused. Because people are like, well, maybe he was just seeing a finger of him or something, and that was amber. No, it's telling you that his whole body was amber. And who is it talking about? It's talking about the Almighty that it was speaking of. Because people are going to argue with you. Well, that's not talking about the Most High. Well, who is this then? Because verse 24 says, this is the voice of the Almighty, and he's sitting on the throne. Who else is sitting on the throne? Nobody. All right? So this is how you when you sharpen your sword, you don't give nobody no comeback. When you bring this truth, and you give them the proof of it, what John Boy say? They go poof, and they disappear, because they say, wow, that makes sense. But that's not what they want to hear. Okay? Verse 27. Oh, verse 20. No. So you finished verse 27? Let's go Ezekiel 8 and 2. And that's why we do these lessons, so I can give you the precepts and the information. That way when you go talk to somebody and say, hey, did you know the Most High is amber, which is copper, which is brass? He's got a skin complexion. Talks about him. Talks about his spirit being this, but people don't want to hear it though, you guys. Go ahead.
We in Ezekiel chapter 8 verse 2. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins down, even downward, fire, and from his loins even upward as the appearance of brightness, as the color of amber.
So he says the same thing, but he switches it around this time, just because people, let me tell you something. People will try to confuse you when you read verse 20. Ezekiel 1 and 27 says, and I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance. All right. So people will try to, this is how they twist you up in the precepts. Go back to Ezekiel 1 and 27.
We're in Ezekiel 1 and 27. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of fire round about within it.
So then people try to say, well, that amber is talking about is coming from the fire. It's not talking about his body. So that's what they'll try to tell you right here. Well, that's talking about the amber as the color of the fire, not his body. And when it's speaking of the loins upward and downward, it's talking about the fire, of the fire around about. This is what they'll tell you. Keep reading it. Because but you have to understand, when you read in the Bible, like Ezekiel 1 and 27, it says, and I saw as the color of amber. That's just closing off Ezekiel 1 and 26. Because Ezekiel 26 is talking about the likeness of appearance of a man upon it. And by the way, he was amber. Next thing. And the appearance of the fire round about the throne, or him, was, all right. So Now and then 8 and 2 tells you the same information, but it just tells you the opposite way, with the color amber being last versus first, to let you know, hey, his body is amber, not fire. The fire is not amber. His body is amber. Back to 28, Ezekiel 1 and 28.
We're in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 28. As the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of rain, so is the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Most High.
So it tells you that this person we've been talking about here is the appearance of the Most High. Anybody that want to argue and say this ain't speaking of the Most High, this amber guy, it tells you right here, confirmation, this is talking about him. Go ahead.
We're in the middle of verse 28. It says, and when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake.
All right, turn the page. Chapter 2. We got about 15 minutes left. We're gonna close it out early tonight. Let's see what he said to Ezekiel. Why was he coming to Ezekiel? Let's say what was the instructions.
When Ezekiel, chapter 2, verse 1, and he said unto me, Son of man, stand upon thy feet, and I will speak unto thee.
Who's talking to Ezekiel? Not these 4 beasts. Ezekiel 1 and 1 says, now it came to pass in the 13th year that the heavens were going to be open, and he saw the vision of the Most High. So now this is the Most High telling him to do this. All right, go ahead. The guy that's amber.
We're in the middle of we're in the beginning of verse 2. It said, when Ezekiel chapter 2, verse 2, it says, and the Spirit entered into me, when he spake unto me, and set me upon my feet, that I heard him that spake unto me. And he said unto me, Son of man, I send thee to the children of Israel.
So this is Ezekiel's purpose now. He says, so the Most High has come to Ezekiel. All right, and these 4 angels, they've done all this work to bring the Most High down on the throne to Ezekiel. And the first words he say to him is, Son of man, stand on your feet. I will speak with you. And the Spirit entered in him. So Ezekiel says, once that happened, a spirit came into him, and the Most High set him on his feet. And the first thing he said is, I send you to the children of Israel. Okay, go ahead.
We in the middle.
Grab it here because it's taller. Go ahead.
We in the middle of verse 3. It says, to a rebellious nation that hath rebelled against me, they and their fathers have transgressed against me, even unto this very day.
So he says, I'm sending you to Israel because they have transgressed against me, and their fathers also did, even to this very day. So even still to this day, these people are going against my word. They're following the words and the laws of the land that they live in. So the land of their captivity, that's what they're following. So they're still transgressing me to this day. What's transgression? Let's go to 1 John 3 and 4. Let's find out. Because he says they are a rebellious nation. And why are they a rebellious nation? Because they have transgressed against me until this very day. That's what he says. So let's figure out what's making these people rebellious. Is the transgression. Let's find out what transgression is.
We're in the book of 1 John chapter 3 verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law.
So whoever breaks a sin is breaking the law. So if you're not following the Most High's laws, then you're this transgressor that is talking about. So you must follow the Most High's laws and His commandments if you don't want to be this person that He's saying that's still doing this to this very day. So if He says who's a rebellious person? A person that's not following the laws of the Most High, which is a lot of people. A lot of people are stuck in other countries in the land that's not theirs, and they're following those laws, which was all of us at one point of time here just a couple of years ago. Everybody in this room, everybody on this line, until you found this real truth, you wasn't following the laws of the Most High, because you was following some type of religion, and whatever religion you was following don't have nothing to do with the Most High. So therefore, you was one of these rebellious people that is speaking of. And remember, we just read in the other day in the Apocrypha where it says, yeah, the Most High made many. I made many when I created the world, but only few going to be saved, because so many people are following the wrong thing. Right? Finish it out.
We in Ezekiel chapter 2 verse 4. For they are impotent children and stiff hearted. I do send thee unto them, and thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith the Most High, and they whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are a rebellious house.
So he says that whether I'm gonna send you to them regardless, whether they will listen. Some gonna listen and some not gonna listen. But you know what? I'm gonna send you to them regardless. Most High could have easily said, well, you know what? They're rebellious people. I ain't gonna waste my time. He said, I'm gonna still send you to these people, no matter what the situation are. All right, these people are stiff-hearted. All right, so they hard-headed people. They don't like to listen. Okay, impudent. Let's break down the word impudent.
We have impudent. It is Hebrews 71:86. H 71:86. We got cautious. QAS. QASHEH. Cautious. QASHEH. And it is severe. In various applications, churlish, cruel, grievous, hard-hearted,
cruel, grievous. Give them all of it.
heavy, impotent, obstinate, prevail, rough, sore, sorrowful.
Sore. Remember that word, sore. Go ahead.
Sorrowful, stiff-necked, stubborn, in trouble.
Stubborn and sore are the two words I want to use out of this. And this is a lot of our people. They're sore with the Most High. Well, how can He make me go through what I'm going through? They got a problem. They sore with their situation. They don't understand that they have to go through what Christ went through when He was in the flesh. Christ had to go through two things in the flesh, so we ain't no better than Him. You got to go through the same. But a lot of people, they go through things. Well, why He got me at the bottom? Why am I always doing wrong? So they got a problem with the Most High. Instead of saying, well, thank you for my trials and my tribulations, they're sore. All right, so this is what makes them stiff-hearted to hear the true word. So when you try to go to our people, which is Israel, and you try to give them this word, they, man, whatever, I'm doing bad, I don't care. If He was the real true power for me, I wouldn't be in this. This is it. So they soar with the situation. So it's stiff as they heart. Okay? Go ahead.
We in the middle of verse 5. In Ezekiel chapter 2, in the middle of verse 5, it says, Yet shall know that there has been a prophet among them.
So I'm going to send you to them regardless, and they're going to know that it's been somebody among them that tried to bring them back to the word. I'm going to send somebody, and they're going to know that this person was sent from me to push the word, regardless if they want it or not. Verse 6.
Verse 6. And thou, son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words, though briars and thorns be with thee, and thou doest dwell among scorpions. Be not afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house.
So, Ezekiel, I'm going to send you to these people, but don't be afraid of them. They're going to talk smack to you. Oh, you in a cult. Who is this Ahiah? Who is this? What are you talking about? 12 tribes? Oh, you in a cult. So don't be afraid of their words, because their words is going to be rough. Once you try to go wake them up, their words is going to be rough on you to where you're going to be like, am I really? It's going to make you question if you're doing the right thing. And you already know because you've been studying. You're like, this is right. And then you're going to try to talk to somebody. And they be like, I don't know about you. You tripping now. You ain't the same. So they start using these words that make you really start looking yourself in the mirror instead of saying, nah, you know what? I'm on the right track. You let's go. All right. But they going to start. So he said, don't be afraid of them. Though briars, the word briars just means sting. So when they say stuff, it's going to sting. Break down briars. Break. They need the briars. Briars, go ahead.
We got briar. It is Hebrews 56:21. We got H 56:21. We got Sarah. Spell S-A-R-A-B. Sarab, S-A-R-A-B. From an unused root meaning to sting.
To sting, so they words are going to sting. So when you go to a family member and you try to wake them up with the truth, they're not going to say nice things back to you. They're going to hit you with some stuff that's going to sting a little because they think you tripping. They think you really in the cult, so they're going to be like, you following the devil. They're going to start stinging you with some words. So don't worry about it. And their thorns be with thee. All right, so they got thorns, and now do dwellers among scorpions. So he says these people are scorpions. These rebellious people that's acting like this, they are scorpions. But he said don't be afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks. They're going to give you haughty looks. When you come around them and you're trying to really get on the truth, they looking at you up and down. Why you got that beard? Why you got them that? Why your hair like that all of a sudden? They looking at you weird. They don't understand your transformation you have gone through. So now you getting the crazy looks. You don't look the same no more. Well, of course, I'm not the same individual. I'm changed. All right? But he said, don't be scared of these people. Do your work. No matter what. If I wake you up and I see you, so this is the same as us. The same vision he's giving Ezekiel. So if he comes to you and wakes you up and say, it's time for you to do the work. You're a righteous individual, male or female. It's time to do the work. So I'm going to send you out. Don't be scared of these people. They're going to come at you. All right? Because that's what they've been trained. They've been trained to do that. It's called pushback. All right? And on the whole surface of the pushback is when you go to someone and you try to give them some information that they don't know, but they reject you right off the bat. And they ain't even done no research, but they still reject you, and you the one that's done the research. How you going to reject something and you ain't even done the research? But this is what we're trained. Because as individuals living in America, we are the most well-trained individuals in the world. They got you trained mentally. Slavery now. The slavery was physical, but they just exchanged it for the mental mind now. And through the mind, they have us under this thing to where from childhood, you only know one thing. So then when somebody bring you something different, which is actually the truth, you automatically frown on it because now it's something that's out of the norm. So now you're the alien. And that's what you get with these people. Read the last few precepts and finish it out. Yep.
We're in Ezekiel chapter 2 verse 7. And thou shalt speak my words unto them, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are most rebellious.
Our people are the most rebellious people. So the house of Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, these people are the most rebellious people. Your so-called Negroes, which is Judah, Issachar. And I'm naming off these two groups because these are the main groups that are in Arizona outside your so-called white people. And these people are down and out. Gad, which is the Native Americans. Our people are rebellious people. They don't want to hear this word when you try to go to them. All right, go ahead.
For Verse 8. But thou, son of man, hear what I say unto thee. Be not thou rebellious like that rebellious house. Open thy mouth and eat that I give thee.
So he says, don't be like them. Open your mouth so I can feed you this word. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 9. And when I looked, behold, and hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein. And he spread it before me, and it was written within and without. And there was written therein lamentations and mourning and woe.
Right, so he says the Most High gave him a book to read. So the Most High gave him this sword, these scrolls, and says, you read these and you learn these so you can go to the house and teach them this information. So same with us. We're to eat this book day and night. Learn it, and then go teach the people. All right, so what he's showing Ezekiel here in this vision, we're the one to do it. But in this vision, he's letting you know when you go to your own people, they're going to give you the hardest time. They're the ones that's going to give you the rejection. But he says, don't worry about it. Continue to go to him. You know what I mean? And he says, hold on, let's go to... go to verse 6, 3 and 6.
In Ezekiel chapter 3 verse 6.
Start at 5.
Verse 5. For thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech, and of an hard language, but to the house of Israel.
So he says, you're not going to be sent to a people with a different language. People that speak the Hebrew tongue, all right, which is the house of Israel. I'm not going to send you to different people. You're going to Israel. Verse 6.
Verse 6. Not too many people of a strange speech, and of an hard language, whose words thou canst not understand. Surely had I sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto thee.
So he says, hey, I'm not going to send you to anybody outside of Israel. So the so-called white men, Chinese people, them, I'm not going to send you to them. They got different language, strange speech. But by the way, if I had sent you to them, at least they would have listened. At least they would have hearkened. But when I send you to your own people, they gonna give you the business. Okay, why are they gonna give you the business? Skip down to verse 7.
In Ezekiel 3 and 7. But the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Israel are impudent and hard-hearted.
So it tells you again, all right? The house of Israel, they will not hearken. So this is why we have what we have, you guys. When you wake up to the truth and you try to go out and speak it to people, people give you such a hard time, and there's so much confusion because he says to this very day that people are like this. So don't get discouraged when you go out and you're trying to speak the truth to people, and people looking at you like you're funny and they don't want to hear what you're saying, and they giving you strange looks, and they talking smack to you. Keep pushing, you guys, because he's warning us through the vision of Ezekiel. This is what you're going to endure. This is what you're going to go through when you start trying to talk to people. So we have to relay ourselves to what we're doing, to what Ezekiel, the vision that he was given to Ezekiel. All right? And we have a lot of people that's woken up to this truth just over the last year. And it's a great thing. But let me tell you something. Now that you've been woken for about a year or so, 8 months to a year or so, that's when Satan starts coming at you harder than ever. Because now you have left his world and stepped into the new world. which is Christ. And then that's when Satan starts coming at you with different obstacles. No matter what it is, work, family members, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever. Satan starts bringing different things at you that will pull you back out of your dedication to waking up to this truth. All right. So with that in mind, we'll close it out. Just remember, we went into. So now, when you read in the Bible, and you see these four beasts, or these four angels, or these four winds, these are the same individuals that's going throughout the earth and doing certain things for a higher. All right. Now you can kind of relay when you read the Bible who they are and why they're so important and why it's always speaking of them. Okay, and then also too, you learned a little bit more about Ezekiel and how he became a watchman. Okay, the Most High came and made Ezekiel a watchman. So when you read more of Ezekiel and you read more of chapter 3 and get deep down, then he tells them, hey, I have made you a watchman over Israel. This is why I came to you like this. So a lot of people will say, well, hey, I thought the Most High only came to Moses. See, that's why you got to know, you got to do your homework, because people will try to tie you up when you bring this to them. Then people will be like, well, I thought the Most High only came to Moses. That's how Moses got his name. So now it's contradicted. No. Okay, this is a vision that's coming down to Ezekiel to make Ezekiel a watchman over Israel. Okay, he was the next person in line to get Israel in order. Okay, it ain't like he came down and sat with Ezekiel for 40 days and 40 nights like he did with Moses. It's a different thing. All right, just like with Enoch, he did different things with all of them. Okay, so we'll close it out by saying shalom and all praises to the Most High, higher, and let's go ahead and pray out.